It's House Blend on SCV TV, and I'm Stephen K. Peoples, your host. Joining us right now is a smoking hot fiddle player from Santa Clarita who can play just about any style, from bluegrass to jazz to metal. His name is Avery Merritt. Welcome to the show, Avery.
Thank you.
All right, well, we're real glad to have you here. And now you're 15 now, and you've been playing for 10 years, right? So you started taking lessons at age 5. Tell us about picking up the violin and how you got into the fiddle from there.
Well, I was originally born in upstate New York, and I badgered my parents about playing the violin, and they were still hung up on where I heard the word violin in the first place, let alone me playing it. So we moved out here to California, and we found a teacher who lent me a violin to kind of fool around with. And from there, I just grew attached to it, and I really liked playing it. And when I was learning, I never had actually classical, per se, education. I had a fair mix of kind of popular tunes, a little bit of folk tunes. Also, I did have a little bit of classical because, well, Suzuki method. And so then, after about 4 years of playing, I then learned this one tune, the Swallowtail Jig, and that totally, like, opened my gaze to
What was the title of that?
Swallowtail Jig.
Swallowtail Jig. Okay, go ahead.
And that totally opened my gaze to the world of Celtic bluegrass, alternative styles, and I fell in love with it from then on. So
then that was kind of the transition from violin player to fiddle player.
Yeah, it was.
All right, it was a whole great body of work in bluegrass, jazz, country for fiddle. And so tell us a little bit about the people that you were listening to as you were growing up and getting a little older and getting more into it.
Well, for bluegrass, I didn't actually really sit down with a CD and listen to anybody in particular. It's like through me learning all of these tunes, I pretty much found out all of the names myself, and I didn't need to listen to anything because I was playing their tunes. So
okay.
And then I slowly drifted into the jazz world. And by then, I'd moved from my original teacher, Penny Sandy, to my current teacher, Phil Salazar. And I started studying bluegrass with him, and then he joined a band called Cowbop, and he had to learn more jazz bebop stuff because he couldn't just walk into a jazz gig with a bunch of bluegrass country likes. So,
right.
So then, since he was learning it, he introduced it to me, and we pretty much are kind of learning it together at this point, and it's just a wonderful experience.
Now the first song you're going to play for us, in fact, is today is a twin fiddle song, right? You and Phil.
Mm-hmm, that's right. It's Blackberry Blossom. It's a tune that I've grown particularly attached to over the years. It's just, it's got a real good tempo to it, a lot of notes. It's fun to play, to improvise on, and personally, I like something that has a little bit of a minor thing going on, and it just gives it a bit of contrast in the tune. And so it's just one of those songs that you learn and it kind of sticks with you for a while.
Sounds good. Now, how old were you when you learned this?
Oh my. It was probably one of the first things I learned with Phil, so I couldn't give you a date, but it was easily more than 3 years ago.
Well, sounds good. Let's hear it. Okay, on House Blend, here's Avery Merritt and Phil Salazar with Blackberry Blossom. Avery Merritt, twin fiddling with Phil Salazar on House Blend. That was Blackberry Blossom. I'm Stephen K. Peoples, your House Blend host, and Avery's back with us now in the studio. Now that was a pretty traditional tune, and you've gotten into all kinds of music, including jazz and even rock. Now tell us a little bit about your rock influences.
Well, that's something that I kind of started on my own. So being 15 years old, studying jazz, I kind of wanted a little more. So I started to listen to a lot of rock and metal things, and now I've just been trying to kind of incorporate that into my playing. Any
artists in particular that strike you as worthy of your attention?
Rock artists, well, I'm mainly influenced by guitar players.
Okay.
So people like Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Eric Johnson, all of those more instrumental rock people really catch me. When I play violin, when I'm playing rock violin, I try to think, well, how on violin can I possibly get with this hunk of wood?
Now at the NAMM Music Trade Show, you got a chance to meet some of those rock artists, right? And actually performed with one. Tell us about that.
That's true. While I was at NAMM, I spent the first day just going around seeing as many things as I possibly could, because I knew that the next day I would be standing in line for about 5 hours waiting to meet a lot of people. So I actually did get to meet Steve Vai, and that was a huge thrill for me.
Cool.
And so the day before, I was looking around and I found the Wood Violins company. It's an electric violin company by Mark Wood, who's one of my rock violin idols. He's created this violin that is a flying V, and I think it's a brilliant piece of art, personally.
It's kind of like an apparatus that looks like a V-shaped, and it straps on. And
it's a V. You kind of put your neck in the V, and it has a support system that goes under your arm.
It almost becomes like an attachment of your body.
Yeah, it's like a third arm.
That's very cool.
You put the strap around and it stays there. You don't have to hold it at all. And so, anyway, Mark invented these brilliant violins. And while I was at NAMM, I met him again because I'd already seen him at a fiddle camp out in, I think it was San Diego. And I took a master class from him. It was like one of the best things I'd ever done. And so I got to meet him again at NAMM. And
this is some years later, right?
Yeah, this couple years later. I didn't think he'd recognize me, but he did. And so I played around with the violins for a bit, and I saw him perform afterwards, and that was great. So the next day I came back. He was playing some Devil Went Down to Georgia rock hybrid thing.
Yeah.
It was pretty fun to watch. And then at his booth, he invited me up to play a couple tunes. And so we basically jammed to a blues, and we played his own version of Eleanor Rigby.
Wow.
And so that was just a wonderful experience.
That must have been pretty amazing.
Now,
definitely. Where do people find out more about Avery Merritt and your music and what you're up to?
All right, well, the main place to find this out is actually on YouTube. I don't have a Facebook page up yet, but I'm working on it.
Okay.
And so on YouTube, I've recorded, I think 3 things. There's definitely more to come. I'm always recording something.
Great, great.
And so you can either just type in Avery Merritt on YouTube, and the channel itself is called Fiddle Enigma. And so I have 3 things currently up, but I've done another thing with an artist I collaborate with in Cleveland. She plays cello, brilliant. And so it's Dust in the Wind, and that's something definitely worth checking out.
So that's gonna be coming up in the near future.
Yeah.
Well, sounds great, Avery. Now you have one more tune for us
on
the show, and it's a little on the jazzier side. Well, tell us about it.
It's called Swing to Bop, and it's actually pretty much the tune that kind of transitioned me into jazz and gypsy jazz. And I really like it. It's a very memorable tune for me.
All right, well, channeling Stefan Grappelli et al., here's Avery Merritt with Phil Salazar on House Blend, performing Swing to Bop. That's Swing to Bop, Avery Merritt with Phil Salazar on House Blend. I'm Stephen K. Peoples, your host, and that's a wrap for this edition of House Blend on SCV TV. Many thanks to Jeremy Quintero and Avery Merritt for being our special guests. Now, just a quick reminder, if you are a solo artist or you're in a band and perform original material and you'd like to appear on House Blend, just send us an email, houseblend@scvtv.com. Until next time, happy trails.